Hi everybody, my name's Sue Everett and I've been volunteering for the Venus Project for about 8 years now. I'm the point of contact for Spain. I coordinate the Spanish translation team for the Linguistic Team International, and I'm also one of the admins for the support teams on a global level. I thought it would be interesting to share some of the artistic creations that TVP supporters have made over the years. You know, like music, painting and sketches and even poetry. So I'll be mixing narrations taken from the book Looking Forward with all of these creations by the supporters. You know, the book was written almost 50 years ago, and yet it really is very relevant to today. And I'd just like to mention that Jack was more of a consultant than an author for the book, as Keyes ran with the ideas that Jack gave him, and some of them he interpreted them in ways Jack wouldn't necessarily be in agreement with. But I've been very careful to choose parts he would agree with. And the idea is that you don't have to sit and watch this. You can listen to it as you do other stuff, you know. There are accreditations and text on the images, at least as many as I could find. And I will announce when the supporters' images are on the screen, so you can come back to look at them if you've moved away from your computer. So I hope you enjoy this. Let's start.
Predict a better future, a redesign of our culture, the vision of a global expansion of consciousness based upon the symbiotic relationships of nature and the caring capacity of the earth. I could dream of a highly advanced civilization where all the intelligent management of the earth resources become the common heritage for humanity. Behold a new world where the laws of man and religion will be erased and replaced with a resource-based economy through renewable, sustainable geothermal energy. Solar and wind energy, harnessed by the power of the sun, generates electricity that brings stability to the earth. Environmentally, the adversity and scarcity will be about us socially when we realize that we are all one species under the sun. Instead of weapons of mass destruction, we unleash weapons of mass creation. You must elevate your mind to a higher state of spiritual awareness and be aware of the emergent and symbiotic aspects of natural law and understand that change is consistent within all of nature, caused by the forces of nature.
We are the sunshine, we are the light, elevating your minds. We are the sunshine, we are the light. It's our time to rise. We are the sunshine, we are the light, elevating your mind. In La Cashala, can we begin to
Intergalactic Federation tactic is proliferation of human preservation, architectural elevation. We stand in veneration of the goddess Venus, crossing as we plot this air voyage. Elite fleet launch with clairvoyance, inspired by ancient artifacts. Practice the latent artifacts, oblivious to how bleak the future seems. The youth stay geeked, play meek, glued to computer screens with futile dreams. This is groupthink versus global brain, divine intelligence, irrelevance and social strain. The difference between generosity and charity in a world where clarity's a rarity. They stare at me atop the pyramid, arms out shouting namaste, with a soul that's lighter than the feather of my eye. Rest of the world screaming, look what I got. Theory is be free, leading exponent is me. All is one is all. Do what thou will shall be the whole of the law. Innocence predates the guilt created by the great fall. So which do you choose? Pure life or more strife? The core is sacrifice, but you're the one that pays the price. Forget what they soothsay. The prophecy of doomsday was more like April Fool's Day. Not the end of the world, but the end of the age. Beware the wrath of the sage and do the math on the page.
We are the sunshine, we are the light, elevating your minds. We are the sunshine, we are the light. It's our time to rise. We are the sunshine, we are the light,
way to a plentiful place that's resource-based. You can't even catch a case, for all basic necessities are supplied by Earth's abundance. Intelligent management of her resources of advanced human civilization. Entire population receive universal health care. I know it was unfair, I know it was that monetary system you couldn't bear. It ate at your organs and stressed you out. You lost your hair but have no fear. Gone all the days of the tyrants ruling square. Shorten your work day, increase the vacation time to utilize the mind's full potential. Vehicles hydro with the sonar magnets to eliminate accidents, so we need no petrol. All state, nationwide, I got gold. Just ask Jock Fresco about the technological takeover of cybernated society, solely meant to improve all living quality, eliminating all superficial boundaries. Set up our nations to perpetuate oppression. A blessing will it be when the meek inhabit the planet with no deprivation. The weather is no application fee. Just grab you a copy, you're the best that money can't buy. This is your future by design.
Free me, free me, free, free, free me. I've forgotten how to fly, living in the prison of my mind. How am I supposed to reach heaven in the sky with the door to this cage locked tight?
Although Scott and Hella are asleep, they are surrounded by great dynamism. Everything around them is being controlled by their home computer, known as the Cybernator. This small computer is built into the wall, and they never see it, although it is in use every minute of the day. They have gradually trained their Cybernator to meet their needs in thousands of ways. Through the Cybernator, Scott and Hella can verbally command any mechanism in their apartment. The Cybernator also handles their messages to the Correlation Center. The automated bed, upon which Hella lies nude and unrestricted by clothing, sheets or blankets, responds in a living way to support her body. There are no pressure points, no creases. This soft membrane gradually moves in a rhythm and pattern that over the years has proved to be the most relaxing to Hella. The rhythm that is most relaxing to Scott during sleep is slightly different, and the Cybernator is also attending maximally to his needs. Since people change, the input sensors of the Cybernator in the apartment are constantly scanning to explore whether they would have more relaxation if the sleeping membrane were to undulate in a different manner. If Scott and Hella were to have 1,000 servants, they would not receive the services that are available to them through the Cybernator. Not only are the undulations of the bed constantly adapted to meet their needs, but other aspects of their sleeping chamber are being maintained by the Cybernator to give maximum restfulness and comfort. A controlled, ionized atmosphere adds to their feeling of well-being. The temperature, humidity, mixture of air and background music are constantly being adjusted to meet their individual needs at the moment. If one of Hella's feet drops 3 degrees below her optimal temperature range, an infrared beam immediately brings it back to the desired level. Sleep in the 21st century is no longer a haven from the trials and tribulations of the day, the balm of tired minds. Scott and Hella have never experienced nightmares. These are part of the long list of things about previous centuries that they are really unable to understand, except on an abstract level. In the past centuries, conflicts produced tension-filled lives that were temporarily relieved by alcohol and tranquilizers. The repressions and injustices of the day were expressed at night as disturbing dreams and nightmares. In Scott and Hella's world, one's feelings and impulses are accepted both in thought and action, so that hours of sleep are not vitiated by the romping of repressed feelings. Scott and Hella rarely dream, but when they do, their dreams usually revolve around pleasant things they plan for the next day. So for the next song that I'm going to let you listen to, I'm accompanying it with various images from different TVP supporters. Some of Jack, some of Roxanne, some of Cities. So in case you're wandering around doing something else, you might want to come back to the computer and look at these lovely images.
What the Venus Project proposes is a society where everyone will live better than the wealthiest people today. Everyone. Dare to dream. Dare to dream. Dare to dream. We will generate new conditions where people will dare to dream. Dare to dream. We will generate new conditions where people will dare to dream. Dare to dream. Until the earth is declared common heritage, and all the artificial boundaries that separate people will be dissolved. And when all people are brought up together, then you have the brotherhood of humanity. Then you have the brotherhood of humanity. Dare to dream. Then you have the brotherhood of humanity. Brotherhood of humanity. Brotherhood of humanity. What the Venus Project proposes is a society where everyone will live better than the wealthiest people today. Everyone. Dare to dream. Brotherhood of humanity. Everyone. dare to dream. Everyone.
Scott and Hella's lives are not governed by rigid schedules. There are practically no deadlines, and there is no need for them to awake at any particular time. The sensing extensions of the cybernator are able to determine when their bodies have absorbed all the rest they needed. Gradual changes are made that will prepare them to awaken with a full of energy feeling. The temperature of the sleeping chamber is reduced several degrees. The lighting of the chamber is increased, and background music of a type enjoyed by Scott and Hella in the morning will soon begin. As Scott and Hella awaken, they have a feeling of anticipation. A new day is here, new and interesting thoughts with new beauties to be experienced, and new sensations are to be felt. And the next piece of music has supporter-made images of Roxanne, so check them out.
But it's not science, and it's not the technology we should be wary of. It's the abuse and the misuse of science. And explore outer space, or you can take it and use it as a bomb and destroy another country. The whole basis of the technology is to maintain a high standard of living. Technology is not worth anything unless it improves people's lives. Today, people are afraid of science and technology because it's so abusive today in so many ways. But it's not science and it's not the technology we should be wary of. It's the abuse and the misuse of science.
For this next excerpt from the book, which is about the living areas, we have images from the research centre at Venus, from inside some of the buildings. The versatile living areas are the focal points of the intelligence of the world environment. They are connected electronically with the correlation centre, which in turn is connected with practically everything on the planet. When Scott wishes, he can contact any region in the world. He can talk with almost anyone in the world at any time. It is possible for him to attend any conference, to observe almost everything going on in the world in three-dimensional colour teleprojection without leaving his apartment. Not only does their apartment enjoy two-way communication throughout the world, but it is also connected to receive anything they want directly from any part of the globe. Stores and shopping centres are regarded as inconvenient folkways of pre-21st century civilizations. When Scott and Heller want any personal item or any apparatus, they need only order their cybernator to produce three-dimensional models for their selection. Sometimes a basic model may have hundreds of optional attachments. This gives them an opportunity to order a customized version that meets their needs exactly. When they select what they want, the cybernator immediately communicates this to the correlation center. In less than a second, the order is registered at the nearest industrial complex. Within minutes, this item is fabricated, packaged and sent on its way in a high-speed system of tubes 20 feet in diameter. This high-speed package is electronically guided by the symbols representing Scott and Heller's address. Their package travels at the rate of 250 miles per hour until it arrives at their apartment. During the entire process, not one human hand or brain has been involved in filling their order. It is possible that the object they have ordered is unique in the entire world, for perhaps no one else has ordered that particular combination. There is no scarcity of anything. Scott and Heller are free to order as much as they wish, for no human lives are consumed in meeting their needs. Whatever they want results only in a momentary blip in the cybernated machine complex of the 21st century.
What does it mean to be grown up? What does it mean to join society? I can't accept what's been thrown up, what we've been handed as reality. I know it's been this way for years. I wish that we were free and clear from here. It's just not meant to be this way. We like to think that we are civil, though civilized is far from where we are. Here in the world of good and evil, there is no doubt money is the star. It's been this way too many years. I wish that we were free and clear from here. Why does it have to be this way? When coin can no longer influence right or wrong, when human rights no longer need to be in song, we may discover there were no grown-ups all along. If I were rich, would I be grown up? Though I've done nothing to help society. Increasing wealth, we condone it, replacing freedom with slavery. It's been this way since time began. We're taught to take all that we can, and then you'll be the well-respected man. Will someone please define grown-up? There is no meaning in what I have seen. far too long we have agreed to satisfy financial greed. Devil's weed will be uprooted for new seed. When country borders are just something from the past, food distribution no longer requires cash. And in that moment we may just then be growing up at last. I've no desire to gain possessions. Life in illusion disguises all we see. Still people fight for accession. There is no solace in that fallacy. I like to think that we can grow up. No use for money as we grow consciously. Living to help out one another. One world resource divided equally. I like to think that we can grow up. No use for money as we grow consciously.
Now for this next excerpt from the book, we have images from the research centre in Venus all around the grounds and the buildings. Beautiful photographs. Scott and Hella find themselves deeply moved by the colour of the reefs and waters, the savage brutality of the more aggressive fish, and the graceful motion of the marine plants and animals. While Hella is visiting the observation deck high above the Exuma Sound, she has a desire to express her feelings in a three-dimensional painting. She tells the cybernator of her wish to paint and walks over to a 3 by 4 foot panel. She picks up a lightweight instrument about 3 times the size of a pen. Through controlling the adjustment on this instrument, she is able to produce any colour or mixture of colour desired. Just as a sliding trombone can produce graduations of pitch, so her electronic brush can produce 1,000 different hues and tints. Fine lines are drawn by holding it close to the screen. Broad lines are made by pulling it back. The pen can paint a flat 2-dimensional picture, or it can build up the material into any 3-dimensional pattern desired. If Hella is dissatisfied with her work and wishes to start over, she has only to indicate so, and the cybernator will electronically erase it. When Hella is through with her painting, she instructs the cybernator to record it. If she especially likes it, she will order the cybernator to transmit it to the correlation center. Scott has a particular talent in sculpture, and he is inspired by the living forms surrounding him in the Bahamian waters. By using an electroformer, he is able to produce a sculpture that in previous centuries might have involved days of hacking away at wood or stone. When he is satisfied with one of his productions, he orders the cybernator to send it to the correlation center. The physical structure of the sculpture is not moved, but through electronic scanning, its contours and colors are recorded and transmitted. The correlation center schedules the exhibition of paintings and sculptures, and through 3-dimensional teleprojection, Scott's sculpture will probably appear for 10-minute intervals in several apartments, walkway areas and research laboratories during the next week. The degree to which it will appear again in other areas of the world and whether it will ever be shown at a cultural centre depends on the amount of attention it receives as recorded automatically by attention scanners. If Scott or Hella were curious regarding the fate of their creations, they could ask their cybernator to request that information from the correlation centre. They do not, however, produce these creations for the ego satisfaction of exhibiting them to others. They make them for their own pleasure. They create them because they have an inside need to express themselves. They produce them for the satisfaction of developing their artistic talents to a higher level. Whether anyone else in the world likes or dislikes their art is of little concern. Their main reason for transmitting their better products to the Correlation Centre is to share with others something they feel would add slightly to the lives of fellow human beings. Just in case you've moved away from your computer, you might want to come back, because during this next song it's going to be accompanied by more images made by TVP supporters.
Food nourishes because plants grow. Water quenches because the cycle flows. A clean source of energy shines from above, and our planet needs protection. All around the world, one family. The time is now to live in harmony. In our resource-based economy, everything will be for free. You know what? Really don't need money in an RBE. Sharing fair. We're coming home to a consciousness that's planetary, a global family in a resource-based society, all living equally, moving away from using money. Powered by only renewable energy, sustainability will be key. Employing technology responsibly and optimally. Sharing our resources fairly, no artificial scarcity, no more plan obsolescence. Instead, enjoy abundance, educate away greed and tyranny. We're productive and stronger when we see that we are one. Yeah, with respect is how we'll treat all sentient beings. Under conditioning, be motivated by same feelings. Consumerism replaced by compassion. Yeah, the planet to save, a wage slave no more. There is much to do, but it can be done. Culture is indoctrination, channel action from frustration. Industrial agriculture, destroying nature. Environmental repair, so we have a future. Redesign the culture, solutions focused in unity. Hey, hey. 100% is what we are. And a profit-centered illness we can cure.
So for the next part of the book that I'm going to read to you, I'm going to read about a visit that Hella makes to Corson, the Correlation Centre, which is like the brain of the resource-based economy, where all the information is stored. And it's a guided tour. There's a teleprojector and a teleprojected figure, and a telescreen that alternates. Let's review the historical conditions that resulted in Corson's governing the world. The teleprojected figure disappears and a telescreen begins. The universities of the 20th century turned out scientists who were noted for their narrow specialization. Enormous progress was made in the development of each science, but society in many ways failed to benefit, for these specialists were unable to see the problems of society as a whole. Often, their terminology was so specialized that they were unable to communicate with scientists in other fields. It was like a group of splendid towers rising high into the air, but no one could get from one tower to the other. Physicists failed to understand social problems. Social scientists were limited in their ability to envision the consequences of cybernation. Economists repeated outdated shibboleths such as work, wealth, demand, production, etc. They somehow felt that the purpose of life was the consumption of material goods and that everything must meet the test of the marketplace. Everyone was stuck in his own rut. Synthesis, coordination, integration, some way to see the forest instead of the individual trees. These were needed. The pieces were there, but the jigsaw puzzle had to be put together. A new emphasis arose in scientific training. Educators began to stress that a large part of the value of a scientist lay in his ability to apply his knowledge broadly, to see society as a whole and not solely through his own particular set of binoculars. It was recognized that only a multi-valued scientific orientation would enable man to participate constructively in the reconstruction of human affairs. The multi-scientist was the new product of the universities. During the latter part of the 20th century, social and economic matters became so complex that politicians in all countries began to rely more and more upon multi-scientists and their computers. The people of the world gradually began to view their politicians as incompetent, for after all, as the technocrats pointed out in the last century, there's no democratic way or communistic way to design an aircraft reactor, a sewer system, or a medical laboratory. There's only an efficient way and a less efficient way, a way that works well and a way that doesn't work well, a way that is reliable and a way that gives constant trouble. As the cybernated factories of the leading industrial countries of the world began, around 1980, to pour out a volume of goods large enough to swing from an economy of scarcity to an economy of abundance, the values of people changed. They realized that it was not necessary to compete any longer to live a good life. The age-old habit of the jungle, where you take from another to get for yourself, was no longer useful. Fighting actually ruined one's possibilities of acquiring a comfortable abundance. Cooperation, not conflict, was the answer.
We're coming home to a consciousness that's planetary, a global family in a resource-based society, all living equally, moving away from using money. How about only renewable energy? Sustainability will be key, employing technology responsibly and optimally, sharing all resources fairly, no artificial scarcity, no more plan obsolescence, instead enjoy abundance, educate away greed and tyranny. We're productive and stronger when we see that we are one. focused in unity. Hey, hey. 100% is what we are. And a profit-centered illness we can cure.
Continuing with the visit to Corson, it does mention 2003. What it mentions didn't come to pass, but remember that this book was written quite some time ago. Hella is engaged by the kaleidoscope of rapidly changing scenes on the three-dimensional projector. Multi-scientists played a larger and larger role in making the decisions of government. They gradually began to replace the old-time politicians who came to power either through votes or strong-arm methods. In the United States, in 2003, over 93% of the senators and representatives in Congress had postgraduate degrees. No one without advanced multi-scientific training had a chance to be elected to the office of either president or vice president, or to be appointed to a cabinet position. Similar reliance on multi-scientifically trained people occurred in Russia, China, India, and throughout all the other less populous countries of the world. The people found that the man-machine complex of a multi-scientist and his associated computers could make decisions that resulted in a better life. As the functions of government were gradually performed more and more by people with multi-scientific training, international cooperation became a way of life. It was found that global weather control could not be accomplished without international cooperation. The problem of providing all nations with an adequate flow of metals, oil, and other resources could best be engineered on an international basis rather than a national one. It was found that the best way to give the people on this earth the highest standard of living was to plan a worldwide system of production and distribution. The European Economic Committee, formed in 1957, was a first step in this direction. Gradually, the artificial national boundaries were bypassed so continuously that they became meaningless lines on the map of history. No one ever abolished the nation of Germany or Mexico, but everyone began to realize that this way of thinking and classifying was only of historical interest and added nothing to meeting the common problems of billions of men and women. There is no specific time at which we became one world. The scientists in charge hesitated to pinpoint or commemorate the functional passing of nationalistic classifications because they were afraid that certain of the older inhabitants of the earth would be disturbed. Since everything was going so well, they minimized the drum beating and concentrated on the global redesign of the planet to bring a more fruitful life for all. About the middle of the 21st century, it became evident that the man-machine complex was functioning so well that very few multi-scientists were now needed to perform governmental functions. The master computer that you see before you was found to be capable of making decisions with almost 100% predictability. It even learned to search for additional facts when these were needed. In seconds, it could scan the enormous memory banks that you see beyond the sphere, so that every bit of information ever collected by man or machines could be sifted for its relevancy in making a decision about any problem. Time after time, whenever the computer disagreed with the panel of government scientists, it was found that the computer was invariably correct. No scientist can base his decision on even a millionth of the relevant data required for predictability in some areas. No human mind can deal with complex multiple correlations involving billions of bits of information. Soon people acquired such a trust and acceptance of this master computer that they just decided to let it do the work. Some of the older people expressed grave concern about turning over the operation of our civilization to Corson. They felt that this machine might turn on us and destroy us. Those who had the greatest experience with the man-machine complex felt confident that Corson would remain the powerful servant of man. Corson has no ego or hostile feelings. Experience showed its fantastic ability to serve man in every capacity. We thus went forward in our attempts to perfect our man-machine symbiosis. Hella thinks of the words of Arthur C. Clarke in the last century. The popular idea, fostered by comic strips and the cheaper forms of science fiction, that intelligent machines must be malevolent entities hostile to man, is so absurd that it is hardly worth wasting energy to refute it. I am almost tempted to argue that only unintelligent machines can be malevolent. Anyone who has tried to start a bulky outboard will probably agree. Those who picture machines as active enemies are merely projecting their own aggressive instincts, inherited from the jungle, into a world where such things do not exist. The higher the intelligence, the greater the degree of cooperativeness. If there is ever a war between men and machines, it is easy to guess who will start it. Arthur C. Clarke, Profiles of the Future.
What if all the money in the world suddenly disappeared? As long as we had arable land, factories, technical personnel, and other resources existed, we could build anything we wanted to build and fulfill most of our needs.
Money isn't what you want and I'll prove it too. You really only want the things money do for you. You can't eat it, drink it, it don't keep you warm. You can't stack it around, you can build a decent home. We don't need reform from any politicians who make plans illegal for you to rot in prison. The thing about the system that you got to see is that it's no longer relevant, it's obsolete. We need a brand new vision for the way that we live. Gotta change the world before our babies get big, so they'll feel 120 degrees in the summer. We can put the guns down and scream peace if you wanna. I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck. It's madhouse, I try but I can't escape it. I don't blame anybody, it's the same disease. We're all plagued by money and insane with greed. At least we're trained to be this indoctrination. The elite bent on worldwide domination. We shouldn't have to go to war and die for our nation, while the only benefits go to corporations. We can do much better, you can read about it. Resource-based economy, the Venus Project. Perpetual death, where's the belief in logic? I dream about shouting peace, I'm out there. Gonna bring you all with me if I ever get there. You can have abundance and access to healthcare. No more slave wages, it's got to go. Trying to feed our kids, almost impossible. We all want the same things, we're just trying to live. You don't want the whole pie, just a slice of it. So I'ma strike a match and get right, you dig? And I wish that you all could feel as nice as this. Ask yourself, do you really want war? Ask yourself, could we really end poverty? Ask yourself, is it worth looking into? For the stress and hard times you've been through. Ask yourself, do you really want war? Ask yourself, could we really end poverty? Ask yourself, is it worth looking into? A bright new future, no borders come into. And I'm not your enemy, just hear me out and let's have conversation, no screaming and shouting. Shout, shout. Let's have conversation, no screaming and shouting. Man, I'm not your enemy, just hear me out and let's have conversation, no screaming and shouting. Shout, shout. Let's have conversation, no screaming and shouting. I don't wanna tell you how to live, make up your own damn mind. You don't like how I feel, cool, homie, that's fine. We don't gotta kill each other over it though. Do you, I do me, we move forward and roll. That's what grown folks do, there is no utopia. We stop improving, the show is over. So you got an idea, man, I'm glad to listen. A whole lot more unity, that's what's missing. Ask yourself, do you really want war? Ask yourself, could we really end poverty? Ask yourself, is it worth looking into? For the stress and hard times you've been through. Ask yourself, do you really want war? Ask yourself, could we really end poverty? Ask yourself, is it worth looking into? A bright new future, no borders come into. Ask yourself, do you really want war? Ask yourself, could we really end poverty? Ask yourself, is it worth looking into? For the stress and hard times you've been through. Ask yourself, do you really want war? Ask yourself, could we really end poverty? Ask yourself, is it worth looking into? A bright new future, no borders come into. And I'm not your enemy, just hear me out and let's have conversation, no screaming and shouting. Shout, shout. Let's have conversation, no screaming and shouting. Man, I'm not your enemy, just hear me out and let's have conversation, no screaming and shouting. Shout, shout. Let's have conversation, no screaming and shouting.
And that's what it's about. We have a tough job ahead, all of us. If you wish to live in a world without war, poverty, unemployment, hunger, human suffering, you have to talk to other people. If you do nothing, I can assure you nothing will happen.
The people of the 21st century have developed a close personal relationship with Corson. Every individual, thinks Heller, interacts with Corson many times a day. Politicians would separate the people from Corson. In previous societies, only a few people could communicate and interact with the king, dictator, president, or prime minister. Today, everybody has the feeling that if their thoughts have merit, they will be acted on. Heller has lived with Corson's rapid responses. She knows that Corson always gives feedback to suggestions, even if only by giving reasons why they seem impractical at the time. Often, Corson responds immediately by appointing the individual to work with a group to study the problem further. The telescreen shows the Acropolis and then a close-up of the Parthenon. This personal relationship of every citizen with government is similar to the original Greek conception of democracy, it continues. In ancient Athens, every citizen had an opportunity to vote on every issue and to get up before his fellow citizens and speak his mind. This proved impractical as nations grew larger. In the United States, the only part that most citizens played in government during the mid-20th century was to push down a few levers in a voting booth. The average voter had no feeling of personal participation in government. Because we can talk to Corson and Corson responds to us, each citizen feels that he personally participates in the running of the world. Our cybernated government gives us intense feelings of dignity, worth and security. The tour is over. Hella is deeply moved by her visit to Corson. She is proud of this creation of man, proud to be part of humankind that has solved the problem of how to live an abundant life without invading the living room of other people. This next music is accompanied by images of supporters and activists around the world for TVP. You might like to look at the photographs. So we come to the end of this broadcast. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed seeing all the pieces of artwork and the music from the TVP supporters.
Dreams of the future. I dream of a future where I can get to you with free transport, free food, and to your free roof. Dream of a future where the education is good, so people don't fight over religion, sports, or belonging to the wrong hood. Dream of a future where your job is only 5 hours a week, without a manager threatening your livelihood and targets you can never reach. Dream of a future where arts are diverse, studios, theatres and museums showing our species' previous primal curse, not to learn. I dream of a future where there are no humans begging at our feet, no charities needed, no door-to-door sellers to greet. I dream of a future where no one's punished for a series of unfortunate events, no worries about theft, no bars on the windows and no worries about rent. I dream of a future where money is obsolete, politicians, kings and elites walking around with people who used to be the meek. I dream of a future where we actually improve society without a price tag, where the technology doesn't suffer from monetary lag. I dream of a future in which children look back saying, "Dad, why were those people so slack?" I dream of a future where I can turn around and say, "Because son, they were products of their environment, like we still are today." Resource-based economy is simply a better way.